Good morning, everyone. Hope you are well. Apologies for disappearing yesterday. I think I got disconnected, but we are back today. Hopefully that won't happen again. Today's learning is in memory of Leah Bas Feivel, Tivia Bas Mordechai, Avram ben David Slavin, Shlom ben Yisrael Morris, Eliezer ben Shmuel Teret, Eliezer Shalom ben Avram Shmuel Beres, Perifegela Bas Reuven Baruch, Shalom ben Eli Eli, Ben Bas Feivel, Rosh Hashanah Bas Yaakov Shmuel, Sarah Malka Bas Binyamin. And the yortzites for today for Leah Bas Feivel Appelman, Yeshua ben Aaron Shlomo ben Halevi Yisrael, and Nachman ben Pinchas Steen, Dina Baruch. Wish each and every one of their respective families long life and only simchas. Okay, so we are going to skirt around a few issues because the last chapters in which we are completing the laws of Teshuva are quite complicated and quite esoteric. So let me try to bring an idea to life, which I think will be able to encapsulate much of the rest of the chapter of 9 and 8, and also a bit of 10. It goes as follows. So we've been speaking about the world to come. We've been speaking about having one's place, and we mentioned yesterday, that we earn our place in the world to come as a result of our endeavors in this world. Okay, so I want to explain to you, because there are many misconceptions, and I think when we see people acting in a certain way and we are disappointed in certain people's behavior, we expect more from them. Very often it is because they have a misconceived idea about what it is to be a committed Jew and to live a life of observance. So it goes as follows. Good morning, everyone. Those that are still joining us on YouTube and Facebook. Lovely to see so many familiar faces with us this morning. So it goes as follows. If we were to imagine that you go to a fun fair, okay, in the good old days of fun fairs, and what you used to do is you used to go around. I wasn't very good, but you used to go around and you used to try to get the get the hoop. I'm sure you'll tell me, to get the hoop over the ducks, or you've got to get the the coconut shy. You've got to hit the coconut, and you've got to throw something over something else and get the bullseye. Right, nowadays everything's with shooting with guns. It's another story which we need to discuss another time as to why it is when you go to a fun fair everything seems to be shooting and very violent, and then we wonder why our kids grow up the way they do. So anyways, so the idea is that you succeed and get it in as many of those tasks as possible, those challenges. You get tokens, you walk around with your tokens, and then at the end of it, usually you go over to the cashier with your tokens and you will hand them in, and you get a massive, massive oversized bear that you are very excited for the first moment that you get it, okay? And then you realize, after you have strapped the bear with a seatbelt sitting next to you, now what am I going to do with this massive oversized bear when I get home? Okay, so that's usually what happens to people. People walk out with these oversized bears, they're very excited, and then they realize that they've got nowhere to put them. And then they dispose of that bear. Well, bears are not just for Christmas. Anyways, we're getting sidetracked. The idea is we see ourselves in this world as very much like that fun fair. In other words, people see Judaism as, right, I'll get a bit of this, I'll do this, I won't do that, I'll gather up all my points, my British Airways miles, my Minion miles, my air miles, my heaven miles, and then at the end I go up to God and I go, right, cash them in, okay? That's not quite the way it works. In fact, quite the opposite. The way it works in reality is that we are, as it were, creating the next world in this world. And that is because we are a raw product, okay? And if we strip away, right, and we refine, if you imagine that you had a block of wood, right, or I don't know if you ever, I was once at a charity event and they had this ice carving, okay? You remember the ice carvings? They wheeled it in. It was magnificent for around 10 minutes, and then it started melting. But if we imagine, so when the sculptor looks at it, there's a block of ice. The sculptor doesn't see a block of ice. They see already the final design. It's just a matter of chipping away the edges around it. It's actually quite a good analogy. So that's the way that we are. God has, as it were, put inside us a divine spark, a spark of Him, a spark of the godliness of and that is our soul. And what we have to do is we have to gradually polish that diamond, nurture it, whichever analogy you want, chip away at the edges, polish it, get rid of the scratch, and then out of that, it should shine through. In other words, we should be godly. We should be, we should be transcend our physical being, even in this world. So when you see certain people and you see the way that they behave, you see that they are, very, very special people. Or you see moments when people are very special, and then you see that godliness coming through. That is the way it is meant to be in this world. Okay, so we are bringing, as it were, the next world into this world. Okay. So it shouldn't be that you see yourself, right, okay, I'm just going to do this, right, I'll clock in, clock out, right, I'll do my confession, right. That's why, I don't know if you know, but somebody mentioned that a disproportionate number of Jews have cardiological issues. And that's either because they're Jews at heart, or because when they come to Al Chet and they're clapping Al Chet on Yom Kippur, so they like to think they're banging it out of themselves. That's not quite the way it works. So what we are saying in essence is that we are meant to be serving God. It's not meant to be self-serving, and therefore it's not about us, it's about Him. And this brings us on to a point that we want to start today and touch on, and we can follow through in following mornings. Listen to the words of the Rambam. It's really, really important. You see, there are two levels that we can operate on. A person is not meant to serve God in this world in order to get the reward. This is not the funfair. Okay? In other words, I'm going to not do this, avoid this. I'll do some of these mitzvot. I'll do a minyan. I'll do visiting the sick, and then I'll put it all together, and that's it. I've done my bit, and I'll get my reward. No, you're meant to. That's serving God out of fear. There are two levels, two dimensions that we can serve God. One is out of fear. In other words, we're fearful of the consequences. We want to make sure, right? It's like an insurance policy. I want to make sure, belts and braces, that I do what I'm meant to do in this world so that I get the reward in the next world. That is a low level of serving God. It is a level, don't get me wrong. And if you're doing mitzvot that way, it's also good. But there is a higher level that we should aspire to, if not in every area of our life, in as much as our life as possible. And that is when we serve God out of love. Okay? We serve God out of love. In other words, I love you so much. I want to please you. I want to do what you want me to, right? It's that, if you're in any relationship, you can, a child, right? A child or a student in a class, they can either, let's take a child can either listen to their parents and lay the table for Shabbos, or put their shoes away at the front door, whatever it is, because they are fearful. They know, woe betide if you don't do it. You're going to get grounded. There's going to be terrible repercussions, right? That's one form of, now the child's doing what is being asked. But there is a much higher level where the child loves the parents, appreciates the parents so much, wants to please the parents, and therefore will go out of his or her way in order that they can do what the parents would expect for them. Out of love, not out of fear of the repercussions. When I do it out of fear of repercussions, I'm doing it really, ultimately, there is a bit of me still there. But when I'm able to get rid of that ego, get rid of me completely, and it's purely about the other person, it's about God in this case, then that is the ultimate level of serving God. Okay? That is really food for thought, something for us to think about. And with all relationships, it's the same. How much of us is there? How much of the me, the ego is there? And how much of it is that I'm able to completely get rid of me, get rid of what I want? It's the I. It holds us back, and actually really just completely be there and subjugate our will for someone else or a higher will. Okay, we're going to stop there. I hope that wasn't too lofty. I hope everyone's still here and we're not having to pull people down from the lofty sky, but let's carry on. Okay, so the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. We continue with a memorial prayer. Adon Olamim Zacho Es Nishmois Leah Bas Feivel Tzivi Bas Mordechai Avram Ben David Slavin Shlomo Ben Yisrael Morris Eliezer Shalom Ben Amish Shmuel Beres Parafei Bas Reuven Baruch Shalom Ben Eli Ali Ben Bas Feivel from Shoshana Bas Yaakov Shmuel Sarah Malka Bas Binyamin Leah Bas Feivel Apple Ben Yeshua Ben Aaron Shlomo Halevi Israel Nachman Ben Pinchas Stein Dina Baruch, Mordechai ben Yaakov Denton, Bavoshek, Kolakam Ispalim, Bados Kashkashin Resehem, Began Aiden Tamenuchot, Sam Lachin Velarachamim, Yasirem Sekana Pabliola, maybe Somas Hashem, Adonai, and Nachlasam, Yanuch Bishlomish Kavam, Venamar, Amen. You know, we sing Vaha Ika Lo Lafachet Klau. The Ika, the most important thing is that we shouldn't fear. And I think there is things are on a real knife edge in this country at the moment. There is a fine balance, friends, my dear precious friends, between making sure that we are cautious, taking the necessary stages of safeguarding, protecting ourselves and our families from the virus, and it becoming full-blown hysteria. I don't want to be misquoted. I'm saying 100% we have to make sure that we take all the measures, all the precautions, all the social distancing, washing our hands, wearing face, and do everything. But there is a real danger of it seeping into our families, of absolute hysteria, which will feed into the mental health. I know already somebody that is struggling tremendously just over the last few days on watching the news, hearing the news about Jewish schools that have got cases of COVID. And it's true, yes, in Bournemouth there are cases and certain year groups that have been taken out. But we can't change that. We can only do what we can do. We have to be careful because there are so many people that are struggling already. And if we are not careful, and all it is that we bombard people and talk about it and create an absolute anxious hell for people, then we may survive that, but other people in our community that have mental health issues or suffer from anxiety and depression and other things are going to go way, way, way back, and we don't have the infrastructure to be there for everyone when the numbers are so great. So that's what we should have in mind. So we want to make a refuah shlema prayer, and of course we are taking very, very, very seriously the necessary precautions and safeguarding measures for all our activities in shul, the services, etc. And of course, we will watch carefully and cautiously to see the way things evolve. Please God, with our prayers, we will see an improvement and those cases will disappear of COVID and the numbers will go down. Babush Animispalim Babu Rambis Hasakash Borchi Malay Rachim Malayhem Lachman Posam Ishlachlim Fushlim and Shmaim Lakolbem Basosha Khalisa Rafuasan Nefish Pusakov Hashtabak Bankarib and Amara. Amen. Wish everyone a Fushlema, both those in this country, around the world, and in Israel in particular, where the numbers still are very high. And please God, through us all taking and making the necessary measures, we will see a decline in the numbers and an end to COVID speedily in our days. Take care, guys. See you tomorrow. We made it. All the best.